Welcome to Front Office Pros. I'm Steve and this is Joe. We're going to be talking today about the top 3 lessons that we learned from the 2022 fantasy football season. It's hard to believe that the fantasy football season is over. We're now into the playoffs, but it's not too late to take some time and think about what we've learned and make sure that we make the adjustments for next season. So the first lesson that we're calling out as a lessons learned, and I'll own this one. This is more on me. Joe might disagree with me on this. I have been on the quarterback roulette for the past few years. I have been a streaming quarterback owner in redraft leagues. And because, everyone tells you don't draft their quarterback early. Joe and I mostly exclusively do auction leagues. So I tend to spend, less than $10 for a quarterback. But I think I may finally consider, as my first lesson, is to possibly draft a top quarterback moving forward. The reason why I say it is because you've got quarterbacks like Josh Allen, like Jalen Hurts, like Patrick Mahomes, like Joe Burrow. These guys are elite options. And there are countless times that I could tell you that I ended up starting the wrong streaming quarterback. The matchup looked great. The analytics looked great. It looked like a smash play. And all of a sudden, the randomness of the NFL, the player gives me a goose and I lose my matchup and I just make it to the playoffs and then I get knocked out. I have found, and I should have looked at this beforehand, but in the leagues I'm with you, it seems like the championship always has that either Mahomes, Allen, whatever, they're in the championship game. So I think for me, not having to think about the roulette and just knowing that I have a top quarterback and he's going to get me a huge ceiling, or if not, he's got a decent floor. I might rather have to think about what flex player to put in my lineup, or receiver, running back, tight end. I think I want to get off the roller coaster that is the quarterback stream.
Yeah, that's interesting, Steve, because I'm not on the extreme end as you. Honestly, the league that you and I are in together, and you're talking about a redraft league, winner of the league, his quarterback was Kirk Cousins. So he outdueled the team with Patrick Mahomes in the championship game. So I don't know. I mean, I think I think it depends on the top quarterback, and they gotta hit, right? I mean, Allen, Mahomes, they're pretty much locks. You mentioned Hurts and Burrow. You realize in this year's draft, people didn't spend big on them as if they were a top quarterback either. So it's kind of a matter of, and then you got my dad who spent up on Justin Herbert this year, and it didn't pan out for him. So he kind of tried your strategy. I think on fantasy from year to year, it's just a matter of who you're spending on and what kind of year they end up having. But I'm not so much convinced that you got to spend big on the quarterback to have fantasy success.
Yeah, I guess in my super flex league, I really liked I had both Mahomes and Allen. And it was honestly, I didn't win. I'm winning. I was close. But having both of them was easy. And I don't know. And it honestly made it enjoyable because a lot of them are primetime games. So I got to sit back and I felt like I still had a chance to come back and win, and they had huge point totals. So for me, I genuinely enjoyed having them. I've been that strategy before. I just been burned so many times. If I would have picked up Geno Smith, or, you pick up Justin Fields during that hot streak, the thing is, though, I just feel like it's not sustainable. Having like a premier quarterback is very tempting for me now going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand it. I just, I don't know, I'm just not as convinced that I think there still is that you can kind of trust that ideology from the fantasy that you can just kind of stream quarterbacks and then really build up your running backs and wide receivers and let them carry your team.
I just honestly can't remember a time where it's been successful. But, at least I haven't won in your league in a number of years. I feel like I haven't even made it to the championship game in a number of years. So I feel like it's like, okay, let's get behind the woodshed and kind of figure out how do I mix things up. So the second thing, another lesson learned on my end that I'm sharing, this one perplexes Joe a little bit, but I think I have finally embraced the full zero running back strategy. What does that mean? usually running backs in auction drafts or in snake drafts, they're usually heavily drafted or a lot of money is spent for them. A lot of teams, I feel like most teams try to plan their roster according to the running back. In order to win, you need to have an elite one. And I feel like from my experience, you either have to hit on the specific one that's going to go off. So it's a roll of the dice. But secondly, they are the least durable position in football. So there are so many injuries that impact the position. And then, you end like even guys like Najee Harris or Jonathan Taylor or Leonard Fournette, right? These guys were probably drafted early. They weren't like out like Breece Hall was for the rest of the year, but they had injuries that hampered, their season, the entire season, and they didn't perform the way you were hoping they'd perform. So I think I'm now embracing the zero running back strategy. I think I've now embraced this idea of trying to have as much of a consistent roster as I can, because I've rode the wave too much, and I'm ready to get off it.
I don't know. I mean, I think the owners that spent up on McCaffrey or Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, I think they were pretty happy. And
I did pay up for McCaffrey, but I ended up
you treated him
because I was floundering. I had to. If I didn't trade for him, I was, even when he did do really well in San Francisco, I would have been out of it.
I don't think so. I think, I'm not so sure about that. If you would have been, because
I might have panicked. I might have panicked too quickly, but
you tend to do that.
That's true. It's true.
Because in that time, you're saying that McCaffrey wasn't that good with the Panthers. At that point, Najee wasn't that great for you either, and
no,
because he was still battling the foot, he didn't get better until he started to get more healthier, and that offensive line, stuck together, and they started to win games a little bit.
But even like think about like Josh Jacobs though, right? Like he was a lower round running back that just burst into the scene. Or look at like Ramondre Stevenson. They were like maybe tier 3 running back this season, maybe tier 2, but probably tier 3 in the draft. Would you say?
Yeah, probably somewhere in there.
So to me, it's like I'm gonna target these later round guys that may, I may strike gold that they end up doing well versus paying top dollar, for one of these top guys. And then, I feel like my season hinges on whether they can stay healthy and get the volume I think they're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, well, you'll have to, test it out. I mean, if you're, I guess it kind of goes hand in hand, right? You're planning on spending up for quarterbacks, and then you're going to end up saving money at the running back position instead. That's kind of
right. That to me is the offset of the dollars, right? So it's like, I'm going to take like $15, $20 maybe that I would spend normally for a top running back, and I'm going to reallocate that to hopefully it could secure me a top quarterback. Hopefully that I'm able to do that. If not, I may have to pivot. You have to be able to pivot during the draft. But at least that's kind of my thought process as of January. Obviously, we have plenty of months to go until August or September when that draft takes place.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm going to be intrigued to see what options you end up rolling if you're going to stick with the zero running back strategy, sending up on quarterbacks, and we'll see how it works out for you.
Yeah, I got to try. So the last lesson that we learned, and Joe, this one's coming from you here, is that basically don't overlook receivers that end up changing quarterbacks. Saw Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, all of those guys traded in the offseason. Or sorry, Kirk went to free agency and signed, but Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams were traded, as well as A.J. Brown. Those guys, changed teams, and they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, I mean, the main one, a lot of people were panicking on was, Tyreek Hill, and they were banking on him having a bad year this year, away from Patrick Mahomes. And then everyone was concerned with Tua as his quarterback. But then, with Tua as a quarterback away from Patrick Mahomes, he ends up having a career year this year. He career best in targets, receptions, and yards with 170 targets, 119 receptions, and over 1,700 yards this year. I mean, everyone was really concerned kind of kind of overlooking Tyreek Hill, I feel like, this year, and if you did, it was a mistake because, man, he had a great year.
Yeah, and I guess honestly, the one outlier I was thinking about when I was just mentioning, like maybe Marquise Hollywood Brown, who got traded and nothing really happened there. But I feel like I feel like that's, I don't know. I think there's familiarity with him and Kyler. I think, Hopkins could be gone next season. I think he'll end up stepping into a role that ends up working out. But for me, the one that's surprising, Tyreek Hill was surprising, but I think AJ Brown was the more surprising one. I didn't expect him to take that much of a leap. I thought that Eagles offense was going to be more run oriented, but it really excelled due to Jalen Hurts having the career year that he did. I don't know if anyone saw him being like a potential MVP candidate based on what we saw from him in 2021.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. And, it's kind of, I feel like, ironically enough, it is because of their run first style of play that's allowing all these bombs and stuff to AJ Brown down the field and leaving him open. It's, between the running attack between, Jalen Hurts and, Miles Sanders had another good year this year. What they've been able to do, I feel like it's that run game is their secret sauce to those big plays on the field to AJ Brown. Kind of reminiscent to what it was in Tennessee, just the, upgrade and play between Jalen Hurts and Ryan Tannehill to hit those big plays down the field, which really made the difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're definitely not going to overlook those type of moves going forward. And that was the top 3 lessons that we learned from this past season. Going to try to be a little bit more aggressive next season. We'll see if I change my mind. I don't think we're going to change our mind on what you said, Joe. But we're going to be talking about dynasty content heading into the offseason. We're really looking forward to it. We got the playoffs coming up, so we'll be talking a little bit about that. So if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to our channel. And thank you so much for watching. And until next time.